Hello everybody and welcome to the latest episode of What If Sonic Died. This is a series where we take a look at how events of the main games could have been altered if during the ending of Sonic Adventure 2 it was the Blue Blur himself who took the fall in space instead of Shadow the Hedgehog. Last time we saw Shadow introduce Amy and Metal Sonic to each other in their new state of being, and how their new relationship is beginning to develop alongside Shadow's pursuit of Rouge and her treatment of Sonic the Hedgehog. Before we jump into things, if you've been enjoying this series and want to see more or just want to show your support, please don't forget to leave a comment, like and subscribe. And if you want to help support the video directly, share it around to those who may be interested. Okay, let's see how events play out. Amy has been touring Metal Sonic around the sites of Central City. She's shown him their great train network that takes you from one end to the other in no time at all. Though for someone like Metal Sonic, no time at all is still a bit slow. They've been to the parks, they've been to some of the shops, they've even been to some of the play areas. But ultimately, this has been a very one-sided interaction. Metal dutifully follows Amy, and she continues to talk to him, but he says nothing and does even less. Still, Amy seems determined to show Metal Sonic the finer qualities of life, and invites him, or rather, takes him to her upcoming boxercise class that she's running for some of the children of the city. They head into one of the many apartment complexes, up an elevator until they get to the correct room. Amy pushes open the great doors of what's a makeshift gymnasium and starts setting things up whilst Metal Sonic stands idly in the center. She looks over to the blue robot. "You don't have to just stand there, you know." He says nothing. "No need to be shy. My students won't bite you. But if you're looking for something to do, could you help me set up the training equipment?" Metal Sonic obeys and moves over as they start positioning punching bags, pole vaults, and all sorts of other equipment required for the variety of exercises she has planned for the day. And eventually, they're all ready to go. All they need are the students. They should be here any second now. Right on cue, the doors swing open again as a collection of children rush in, giggling and screaming amongst themselves as they fill out into the gymnasium, followed by their parents. Amy walks over and greets them, a regular occurrence you can assume, as they talk about how grateful they are for teaching their children about these events and giving them somewhere to put their boundless energy. Whilst they do so though, a couple of the kids notice the blue robot stood silently in the center of the room and curiously walk over, eyeing it up. They whisper amongst themselves, some noting its similarity to Sonic, one of whom deciding to get a bit closer than the rest. Amy says her goodbyes and closes the door as the last of the adults leave, and turns around to see the children surrounding Metal Sonic. In an instant, his head twitches to face the child who got too close to him, observing her with glowing red eyes, causing her to jump back and startling the children. Amy comes over in a hurry. "Whoa, calm down everyone, nothing to worry about. This is Metal. He's my, assistant. He was helping me set up the room for everybody. Don't mind him, he's just a little bit socially awkward." And by now she's walked up beside Metal Sonic, putting her hands on his shoulder. "Alright kids, go get ready as usual. I'll be with you in a minute." They walk off, occasionally glancing over back at Metal, but they get along with their preparations. Meanwhile, Amy looks sympathetically towards Metal. "Okay, Metal. Here's another lesson for you. Sharp, sudden movements like that come off as very aggressive. Maybe try moving slowly, a bit more gently, and you won't scare people as often. Now, the lesson's going to be quite active, so I can't have you standing here in the middle of the room. Why don't you go and stand over there so you can watch?" Metal Sonic dutifully obeys the command and walks to one of the walls, turning around to observe the scene as it plays out. The lessons proceed. A lot of physical exertion, but also plenty of fun and games interspersed in between. It's not so much as a brutal training exercise as it is more of a fun gathering amongst children. Though there are a couple valuable lessons to be learned, Amy isn't expecting all the children to completely understand and adopt what she's showing them. It's more about the thought that counts. All the whilst Metal Sonic stands idle, taking in the action. Eventually, it's time for everyone to go home, and once the last of the kids have left, Amy walks back over towards Metal. Thanks for being so patient with me. They sure are a lot to handle sometimes. Now that we're done here though, how about you come back to my apartment? I'm sure we can get you comfortable over there. Unless you object, of course, she says, fully expecting Metal not to voice his opinions one way or another. Excellent! Off we go then! And she grabs his hand, leading him out of the room. They travel to her apartment in a different block, ascending the stairs until they reach her room. As Amy presses against her door, she turns back to face Metal again. Don't judge my room too much. I've been busy, so I haven't been able to clean up as often as I used to. And with that, she fully enters her room, and Metal follows. The environment is dominated by shades of pink. It's very obvious Amy has a favourite colour, and she's not afraid to show it. She's got plenty of wardrobes as well, presumably filled with a different collection of clothing and outfits. But that's not all there is to see. There is an obvious section that's been dedicated as the cooking area, with all sorts of books, cutlery, and other cooking utensils lined up neatly, polished and clean. You would think that no one ever uses them. However, the baked treats currently lying under some towels indicates that in fact, she's just very thorough with her work. A desk to the side is sprawled with all sorts of mystical and occult looking items. Stacks of tarot cards, a Ouija board, a snow globe with strange symbols painted upon it, as well as books with artistic but exoteric looking covers. Metal Sonic scans the area further and finds a billboard covered in images of people and locations in black and white, with names and strings being stapled to one another looking for any connections. On a table below it seems to be a collection of newspapers reading about criminal activities. This area of the room seems messier than the rest of it. Amy walks around, opening up some windows and putting some clutter away, as Metal Sonic continues to look around at the decorations. He sees a collection of photos and pictures, seemingly of Amy and friends she's had over the years. One sticks out to Metal more than most though, a picture with Sonic the Hedgehog inside of it. This one is located in the centre of all the others. He stares at the image. This is the first time he's seeing an image of Sonic the Hedgehog in his memory. Amy notices Metal just staring at a wall and so comes over. Something wrong? What are you looking at? Oh, yeah, I've met a lot of people over the years. Sonic was one of the most special of all of them. You wouldn't know anything about him though, anymore anyway, would you? Metal continues to stare at the picture. I know! Why don't I tell you a bit about Sonic? And for the first time, Metal Sonic does actually respond to her. He turns to face her silently. Oh, I knew that would get your attention. Luckily for you, you're talking to an expert. Let me get my material. And she walks round one of the corners of the room to where her bed is located, and under it brings out a casing, of which has all sorts of Sonic memorabilia within. She walks back into the main section and gets to her knees, tapping the ground in front of her. Alright, Metal, well, come down here and join me. Metal Sonic obeys and gets down onto the floor as well. Oh, there's so much to cover. It's hard to know where to start. But I guess we can try and make it relate to you. You're trying to become a protector of the Earth. Sonic never really called himself that, but he ended up doing it anyway. That's one of the things about Sonic. He would always try to help other people when he could, when he was around. He was never selfish, at least not to the detriment of others anyway. He was deeply caring even if he didn't show it directly. Sonic really is the embodiment of heroism. There's a lot that we can learn from how he behaved. I've been aspiring to be just like him ever since we first met. Right from when, you stole me away, Sonic was always looking out for me. I'll never forget him, or everything he taught me. His memories are a great comfort to me always. I just wish he was still with me today. But you probably don't need to hear all about that. Let's get started properly. First things first, how to be a hero. And Amy goes on, using some of the items she's collected over the time to illustrate her points, as she talks to Metal Sonic about Sonic's history and the deeds he has done, and how anyone with the right attitude can emulate these ideals. She talks about how Sonic was often aloof and joyful, even in times of stress, contrary to what some may believe from the tales of his heroics. She goes into great detail about every habit, every weakness, and every joyful memory she has related to Sonic the Hedgehog, giving Metal a deep dive into his character, more so than probably anyone else could have given him. Whether he wanted to or not, he will become an expert of Sonic the Hedgehog. But the night does eventually come and Amy requires sleep. So she allows Metal Sonic to stay around in her room and do whatever it is he does, which is not a lot, while she goes for a rest. Once she awakens, the lessons begin anew, not specifically just on Sonic the Hedgehog, but about life in general. Amy was sincere in wanting to show Metal that there's a lot of different things to live for, and one of the lessons she tries to impart is that it will be down to him to discover his reason to live on, his ideals to follow, his joys to pursue, not simply those that are given to him. For the next few days, Amy tutors Metal Sonic, and beyond just the lessons about what Sonic used to do and how heroism works, she also shows him the joys of the city. One night they spend at a prop-up carnival, taking part in the attractions. Specifically, there is a hammer test. The strongest swing gets the biggest prize. Amy, obviously very confident in her prowess with the hammer, swings down to get her remarkable result, but then offers Metal Sonic a go, who has observed the methods of Amy's hammer swinging through both direct and indirect means over these last few days, and so swings down with his own gusto, metallic strength, smashing the entire contraption, much to the owner's discontent. Amy tries to calm down the situation and tells Metal Sonic about measuring his own strength in the future, but they did win a nice cuddly chow out of it. At the same time, of course, Amy's responsibilities at running the self-defense course for the children did not cease, and so Metal Sonic continues to stand idly and observe while she goes through the motions, whether it be for fun or for more practical use like with basic martial arts. On another occasion, Amy takes Metal Sonic to get some new clothing, dressing him up in different outfits, most of which that Amy finds cute or adorable, and starts taking pictures with herself and Metal in this attire. Metal Sonic has no comment on the matter, but Amy got a bunch of pictures out of it. Although the first time Metal activated his thruster, it became apparent that giving him clothing would be a waste of time, as they all end up with a circular burned hole in the back of them. As the classes continue, Metal Sonic begins picking up on the techniques Amy's bestowing, or at least the useful ones anyway, seeing the way she directs her punches, how she throws her weight efficiently rather than swinging wildly. He also lends his hand in collecting some of the groceries. Amy apparently is planning on baking some special treats for some kind of anniversary with her students, and thus needed more ingredients than usual. However, there was a small moment of drama when Metal Sonic simply grabbed the materials and walked out the building, setting the alarms off, as Amy would later then have to describe that he didn't know what he was doing, and inform Metal Sonic about the concept of paying for things. Still, overall, Amy was satisfied with her time with Metal Sonic, and hopes she's delivered a strong sense of justice, just like the fire that burns within her pupil. In the time that has passed, Shadow has not been idle. He's been reading through that dossier filled with details about activity detected by GUN at Space Colony Ark. Many of the notes make reference to clear signs of Dr. Eggman being involved, and there are numerous conversations recorded questioning whether they should take direct action or continue to observe. Shadow overall was left unimpressed with the workings of the government, deciding that by the time they act, whatever the doctors planned will probably be too late to stop. Therefore, he decides to take this to Tails' lab to see if his technology will lend him the edge to confirm Eggman's location. He warps inside Tails' lab, causing the fox to startle, but hearing this unwanted sound, he assumes, "Shadow, is that you?" "Indeed." "You're never gonna use my door, are you? Here." And he throws the dossier towards Tails. "What's this?" "The doctor's been up to no good again. Apparently he's tinkering around with the Ark. And if this file's to be believed, the government isn't going to step in. So it falls to me. But obviously the journey to the Ark is quite the long one. So I'd rather make sure I know what's there before I make it." "Okay, well, Let me see if I can find anything with my enhanced scanner. Tails sits down in front of his many screens, opens up some files, and starts looking towards the direction of Space Colony Art's orbit. You never did mention what happened to Metal Sonic after you delivered my package for me, Shadow. I left him in the care of Amy Rose. We encountered her whilst in the city, and you just gave metal to her. She was very insistent. Wow, I should get her over here to insist that you use my door. Shadow glares at Tails' back. How is she, holding up anyway? Better. She expressed some remorse for not getting in contact with you. It's alright. We were all figuring our way through that moment, our own ways. But it's good to hear that she's doing better now. Hopefully we'll speak soon. For a moment, Tails' typing slows. Wait. And he looks over his shoulder at Shadow. Did you tell Amy about, Sonic? No. I'm not quite sure how to handle that situation. You've known her longer than me. I don't feel like I'm the right person to deliver that news. This is complicated. To make matters worse, Sonic seems to be operating in Central City. I encountered him carrying a bag of what I now presume to be stolen goods. What? Sonic? A thief? That can't be right. He's being misled, Tails. I then met Rouge, and she seemed all too pleased to benefit from his state of amnesia. Gah! A scowl washes over Tails' face. I can't believe this is happening to Sonic. Why didn't he just come with me? Huh? Wait, what's this? Some lights bleep up on Tails' screens. There is some activity here, Shadow. It looks like everything's accurate. And recent, too. Of course. What is the Doctor thinking? Nothing good could come from messing with the Ark. Oh, wait! I think I've detected something nearby. Let me... Tails fiddles with a couple buttons. Aha! This type of robotic activity could only be down from Dr. Eggman. You're saying the Doctor's nearby? Yeah, take a look! And Shadow looks at the screen, seeing that indeed, for someone of his speed, Eggman truly is nearby, or at least recent activity from his faction. Tails swirls around in his seat to face Shadow. So what are you gonna do? Simple. It's time we see what the Doctor's been sneaking around with, face to face. Oh, right! Tails stands up. Let's go! You're not gonna be coming, Tails. What do you mean? You can't stop me. Consider it a favor then. I'm planning on taking Metal Sonic with me so we can see his true potential in battle. Thus far, I've forbidden him from fighting back. I suppose that makes sense. Tails slinks back into his chair. But considering how much data he's lost, how do you know he's even going to be able to fight? That's why I'm still there. Should it be necessary, I'll handle everything. But that wouldn't be a good sign for the prospects of Metal becoming a defender of the Earth, would it? Well, let's hope that's not the case then. And before Tails can say goodbye, Shadow has already teleported out of the building. I really need to do something about this. Back in Central City, there is a fair going on one of the streets. Gifts are being given away, and children are being awarded the chances of a better education. And being a helpful individual, Metal Sonic is involved, stood to the side, holding a collection of balloons that he delivers one by one to the children who come past him. Shadow approaches on foot, noticing the robot, and jokingly remarks, "So I leave you for a few days and you end up a balloon man. Looks like my influence is needed now more than ever." Metal Sonic stares at the balloons in his hand, looks to Shadow, and then holds one out in offer to him, prompting the Dark Hedgehog to cross his arms and roll his eyes. Noticing Metal Sonic's disappearance from his post, Amy looks around past the crowd to try and find him, spotting him moments later. Metal, where you going? You still got balloons to give out. Oh, hiya, Shadow. Did you miss us? I didn't come here for you. I came here for Metal. Sure. Well, what can we do for you? I'm here to take Metal back. We've got some business to deal with. Amy's eyes become a bit more serious. And by business, do you mean Dr. Eggman? Okay, I'll come with you guys. There's no need. The two of us are already more than enough for a task of this caliber. It's only the old fool, after all. Yeah, well, I would rather be there to see if Metal's okay. Part of the point is that I need to see if Metal's able to fight for himself. Having you there wouldn't help things. She looks at Metal. Okay, well, I guess you've got to do what you've got to do. Be careful out there. Oh, don't forget everything I taught you either. And watch your back. And he's a robot, not a chow. You'll be fine. Of course you'd say something like that, Shadow. Take care of yourself, Metal, and don't do anything I wouldn't do. Metal Sonic rolls his eyes in his head. Ah, was that attitude, mister? See, not even 5 minutes and your influence is having a bad effect on him, Shadow. Let's get going, Metal. And Shadow walks off. Metal Sonic hands Amy the rest of the balloons and begins to leave, but he turns over his shoulder and gives her a thumbs up on his way out. She smiles warmly as the two of them walk off, until some shock runs over her face. Ah, I left the popcorn on! And runs off. As for what happens with Shadow and Metal, we're going to have to wait until the next episode to find out, because this is the end for this one. Thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. I hope you've been enjoying the story so far. In this one we took some time to develop the characters' bonds between each other a little bit more, but next time we'll be diving straight first into some action. If you've been enjoying this series so far, don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe down below, and to share the video around to those who may be interested. With that all said and done, I hope you have a great day, and to see you next time. This is the Mighty Emperor, signing off.